So today I read an article in CNN that really disturbed me. It was about a black couple that felt like they had to whitewash their house for it to appraise correctly. Let's get into that. Before we get into it though, make sure that you subscribe to the channel, hit the chime button to make sure that you're notified when I drop new content. I drop content weekly, home tours, and also content like this where we're talking about topics. Make sure you tap in. So this article really bothered me as a licensed real estate agent that's been doing this for 8 years, has sold over $100 million of real estate. I guess I'm somewhat spoiled in that I live in the Washington, D.C. metro area where racism we know exists, but it's not maybe as overt as other places in America. And so in saying that, I'm not sure that I've ever had any overtly racism or any overtly racist connections or times in doing my job in real estate. And this article talks about how this couple, they had photos of themselves up, they were going to sell their house. And when you sell your house, you have to get it appraised because a lender is not going to give you what you have the house under contract for or what your loan is for, but a lender is only going to give you a loan for how much the house appraises for. So at the end of the day, an appraisal is one of the most important things in buying a home because that's the only thing that a lender is going to go by when they're determining how much your house is worth and how much they're going to give you a home loan for. So keep in mind that appraisal is super important. These particular buyers, they got their appraisal done, wasn't done by someone that looked like them. And the appraisal came in really low. I think it was about $60,000 lower than what they thought it would come back given the comps, things like that. So what they decided to do was to whitewash their house or take things from their white neighbor, pictures, artwork, things like that, put it up in their house and use a different appraiser, and the appraisal came back $90,000 higher than what it appraised for the first time. Now, some people may say, well, that's just a coincidence. You know, maybe it was just that appraiser, or maybe the appraiser was wrong. But studies have shown, and this is documented, that appraisals in predominantly black neighborhoods come in lower seemingly almost all the time. Now, we can say that this may be a coincidence, but if something keeps happening over and over again over years and years, well, it ceases to kind of be a coincidence. And maybe this is something systemic, that is something embedded in real estate where appraisals come back a little bit lower, maybe depending on what your race is or what the appraiser perceives your race to be. Now, this is wrong for so many reasons, but the main reason is people are quite literally losing out on wealth by having their homes be appraised for lower than what it should be. I'll give an example. So if you sell your home and you get it under contract for say $500,000, right? And the appraisal comes in at $475, even though it really should have appraised at $500 given the comps, but they bring it in at $475. And you're a seller, maybe you're just either desperate or you just don't want to deal with it, and your agent's like, just take it, and you sell it for less than what it's really worth, but you really could have sold it at $500,000. That's $25,000 that you're literally leaving on the table because of an appraiser appraising your home for too little. So some people may not think that it's a big deal, but with appraisers, they're kind of the gatekeepers when it comes to real estate. It's not realtors, it's not always loan officers, even though you can redline, you could do a lot of those other things that prevented black people from buying homes and or buying homes in predominantly white areas or areas that may be seen or deemed a little bit better. A lot of times it's the appraisers that are the gatekeepers because at the end of the day, again, a loan officer, a mortgage company is only going to give you a loan for however much the appraiser says that your home is worth, however much they deem that it's worth. Now, even in my profession as a real estate agent, I've had to dispute appraisals before. I've had to work to get appraisals higher because I thought that the appraiser incorrectly appraised the home a little bit too low. And you don't typically win that battle because appraisers typically are pretty dug in on their value is correct and they don't want to hear that they may be incorrect or wrong. But sometimes appraisers are wrong. Sometimes they look at the wrong comps. I've had appraisers ask me as a realtor to submit comps to justify the price that I listed the home at. And so in saying that, appraisers sometimes aren't correct. And sometimes their appraisals come in a little bit too low and they're not always correct. So, I had a conversation with some people on Instagram when I posted this article earlier, and people were asking me, Chris, how can we rectify this? Well, there's a few different ways I think that we can rectify this problem. So first things first, I think that we need more representation in appraisals. A lot of times I'm going to speak of the Black community because I am Black, but a lot of times we're not even taught to even think about being a real estate appraiser. That's not even on our radar. So we don't think to do it because it's not on our radar. So I think that we need more representation of minority. It's not just Black, but I think we need more minority appraisers. I'm going to be honest with you. I've sold over $100 million of real estate. I've done, I can't even count how many transactions that I've done in my career. And very rarely will I have a minority appraiser. They're almost always white. And now there's nothing wrong with that, but sometimes there's an inherent bias for people that don't look like us to lower the value of their property because they don't look like us. So first things first, I think that we need more representation for minorities and appraisers. Second thing, I think that we need more bias training when it comes to appraisers. I think that they need to be reminded that just because a homeowner is a minority, that doesn't necessarily mean that their home is valued any less. So bias training and letting people know that just because a homeowner is a minority doesn't actually mean that their home is valued or should be valued any less than a white homeowner. I think that's really important too. I think just as appraisers and real estate professionals in general, I think we really have to remember that we hold a lot of the keys to wealth in America. And I think that it's very important to take our job seriously. And I'm not bashing any particular real estate appraiser. So if you are watching this, I'm not saying that you're horrible, you're terrible, or anything of that nature. But I think it's okay to be reminded sometimes that, we have a very important job. We hold the keys, kind of no pun intended, to people's most important and biggest financial decision of their life. And we shouldn't play around with that, and we shouldn't take that lightly. So all that to say, I love real estate. I love what I do. There's some things, of course, that I think we all wish were a little bit better. But in reading this article was really eye-opening and very honestly frustrating for me, because it's something that I can't explicitly say that I have seen in my own career, because I don't know that it's happened in my career, but it's very frustrating to see that, and I'm seeing these articles a lot more, and I think that we need to do something about it. This is not something that should keep happening, and I think that with more representation with minorities and just bias training and things like that, I think that we can really, really help the real estate industry and make it better for everybody, because no one should feel like if they put their home on the market to sell it, will it actually appraise for how much it's supposed to? Will someone slight me and literally take money out of my pocket and my family's pocket potentially because of the color of my skin? and that's not right. So I love what I do. I appreciate you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe, like, and drop a comment what you think about this as well. If you read the article or what you think about this topic. I'll catch you guys next time.